Welcome to Mission Control, everyone. I am your flight director for today's Masterclass Explainer, and we have a highly critical objective on the central console screen right now. We are going to completely decode the exact examiner expectations for the 2028 Cambridge AS and A-Level Arabic Language 8680 essay topics. Specifically, we're locking our coordinates onto how to master the 5 core themes: young people, urban and rural life, food and drink, equality of opportunity, and sport. Now listen, in this simulation, we are going to treat your upcoming exam paper exactly like a multi-million-dollar flight system. And what does a flight system require? Perfect, uncompromising execution. You see, most students lose incredibly easy marks on these topics because they treat the Arabic essay like a casual, free-writing exercise. They just sit down and start writing, hoping they eventually land somewhere near the right answer. No, that is not how we operate here. It needs to be a calculated, structural, step-by-step process. To demonstrate this, I want to introduce you to our 2 test pilots for today's simulation, Pilot Alex and Pilot Sam. Now, Pilot Alex, bless him, has a habit of overcomplicating every single data calculation. He rates way too much, burns through all his time and fuel, and exhausts himself before making the actual point. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Pilot Sam. Sam is a bit of a maverick. Sam completely ignores the structural boundary constraints of the prompt, writing whatever comes to mind, which massively risks a total systemic breakdown of the essay. Our goal today is to correct both of these flight paths. By the end of this explainer, you will have the exact optimized blueprint to secure those top-tier marks. Let's get prepped for launch. All right, here's our flight plan for today's mission. We're going to cover the core syllabus principles, map out the technical methodology, dive deep into critical analysis strategies, highlight the top 3 examiner warnings to keep you out of danger, and finally, lock in your final exam strategy. Section 1. Core syllabus principles. Let's establish the baseline telemetry of what Cambridge actually demands from you before you even think about writing a single word. Okay, look at this alert straight from Cambridge. The absolute foundation of the 8680 syllabus isn't just about how flawlessly you can write your Arabic vocabulary. It is heavily, and I mean heavily, focused on how well you demonstrate connected, conceptual understanding. And this brings us to an absolutely crucial concept: the method mark strategy. Cambridge examiners explicitly state that students lose marks by not showing their working. Now, what does showing working mean in an essay? It means you are rewarded for your analytical process. The examiner wants to see the exact trajectory you took to arrive at your conclusion. Even if your final payload, your conclusion, slightly misses the optimal landing zone, method marks can absolutely save your grade. Think about Pilot Alex for a second. Alex overcomplicates the data. He might misinterpret a highly nuanced text about, say, food and drink trends among young people. But if Alex explicitly demonstrates how he analyzed that text on the page, mapping out the given facts, showing the logical steps he took to analyze the trends, even if his final deduction is a bit off, the examiner will still award him crucial method marks. He showed his flight telemetry. He showed the working. Never just give the final answer. Prove how you got there. This leads us right into how Cambridge defines critical analysis. It is the systematic evaluation of alternatives. They prioritize deep, structured reasoning over just superficially summarizing a text about youth or sports. Let's talk about Pilot Sam here. Remember, Sam ignores constraints. If an essay prompt asks whether equality of opportunity is truly achievable in modern urban life, Pilot Sam is going to take a superficial approach. Sam will just say, yes, it is, or no, it isn't, and list off 3 completely generic reasons. That is a systemic breakdown waiting to happen. A critical analysis approach, the exact approach that gets full marks and clears orbit, precisely defines the parameters first. What exactly does equality of opportunity mean in this highly specific urban context? Then, it establishes evidence-based causal relationships. And finally, it logically evaluates the alternative viewpoint before reaching a heavily justified conclusion. You have to weigh the alternatives. You can't just fly blindly in one direction. Let's look at the essential theoretical architecture we need to map onto your high-tech UI console overlay. When you are planning your essay, you have to hit these system parameters. Master the precise definitions. Establish causal relationships. But here is the absolute game changer, right here. Integrate cross-topic connections. Principal examiner reports continually highlight that candidates who connect the core topics achieve significantly higher marks. You cannot look at the 5 2028 topics in isolation. They are not separate planets. They are part of the same solar system. So if you get a question on sport, for example, don't just write a descriptive piece about playing football. Connect it. How does sport relate to young people? How does it tie into equality of opportunity? Perhaps the access to elite sporting facilities differs wildly when you compare urban and rural life. See what we did there? By establishing these causal relationships across the syllabus themes, you demonstrate a highly transferable conceptual understanding to the examiner. That is how you clear orbit. Section 2. The technical methodology. Let's lock in the procedural framework and standardize your flight approach so this becomes pure muscle memory in the exam room. Okay, flight director, pausing the simulation here for a critical update. Before we fire the secondary boosters to secure maximum marks on this methodology, you need to optimize your flight path. Subscribe to Ace the Exams right now and turn on all notifications so you never miss a mission-critical update. Okay, simulation resuming. You must treat this exam paper systematically by following this exact 6-step sequence. First, deconstruct the question to understand your exact boundary parameters. Second, extract the relevant data. If your stimulus text is about how food and drink impacts the health of young people, you pull those exact specific data points. Third, select your analytical framework. Fourth, execute with clear notation. Fifth, verify your results. And sixth, present it in the correct format. Now wait, warning lights on the console. We are hitting a critical roadblock mid-paragraph. Our pilots, Alex and Sam, their evidence links are failing. The trajectory is dropping. To save the flight path, I am overwriting the console and injecting the Peel structural template right now. Point, evidence, explain, link. When you are executing step 4 on this screen, executing with clear notation, you use Peel. Make your point. Back it up with evidence extracted in step 2. Explain the causal relationship and link it back to the core question. That structural template will save your trajectory every single time. We can boil that entire complex engine down to a vital 3-phase propulsion system. Deconstruct, solve, evaluate. By breaking your problem solving into logical steps and constantly checking for reasonableness, you practically force the examiner to hand over those method marks. You deconstruct the given information about a theme, breaking the prompt down into logical parameters. Then, you solve the argument systematically, step by step, using your framework. And finally, you evaluate, checking your trajectory. Does this actually make sense? Are my recommendations actually justified based on the text? This is how you maintain a stable orbit from introduction to conclusion. Section 3. Critical analysis strategies. Let's elevate your writing thrust to hit those descriptive, analytical, and evaluative levels required to secure those higher-order marks. All right, team, I am activating the Interactive Viewer Radar Challenge. I want you tracking this live with me. Simulation 1. Imagine a 60-second visual countdown clock right here on your console. Your job is to locate the hidden core variable in your text. You're scanning the data, scanning the text block. What is the actual argument? Got it? Good. Now, Simulation 2, debris detection. You are scanning a sample student answer, and you need to identify the specific sentence where it falls below compliance standards. Look at the weak analysis on your screen. Urban areas have better sports facilities, rural areas do not. Beep, debris detected. That is a weak analysis. It simply lists facts, resulting in a flatline trajectory. It only identifies surface-level facts and drops you right into a purely descriptive low-mark zone. Now look at the strong analysis. A top-tier pilot identifies similarities and differences using sophisticated Arabic comparative connectives. They support every single comparison with specific evidence pulled from the text, and they draw evaluative conclusions about their relative importance to, say, young people. That is how you shift from a descriptive debris-filled list to a high-order evaluative analysis. Section 4. Top 3 examiner warnings. Now that we know exactly how to fly this ship, let's look at the top traps candidates fall into, pulled straight from the Cambridge flight logs. These are the classic system failures, using the wrong approach, forgetting format, and the absolute biggest one, providing answers that are not specific to the given context. This is a major trap where students just bleed easy marks. Let's run a scenario. Imagine an essay prompt that asks, evaluate the impact of modern technology on the rural life of young people. A student, maybe our pilot Sam, might write 3 beautiful paragraphs in absolutely flawless Arabic about how technology improves communication globally, how smartphones are great for university education, and how fast food delivery apps are super popular in cities. It sounds great, right? Wrong. They completely missed the boundary constraint. They wrote a generic essay about technology, entirely missing the specific context of rural life. Context is your gravity in this exam. If you ignore it, you will float off into the abyss. Always check your format, tailor your approach to the exact prompt, and fiercely guard that context. Section 5, Final Exam Strategy. Let's synthesize all of this telemetry into a tactical blueprint you can confidently take into the 2028 examination. The principal examiner reports give us a massive, highly effective memory hack right here, the visual story method. When you are studying those 5 core topics, do not memorize them as isolated bullet points. Create a vivid visual story in your mind that connects them all. Picture this.
A young person living in a rural village, striving for equality of opportunity to access advanced urban sports facilities, all while trying to maintain their traditional food and drink cultural habits. Boom! By encoding these concepts into one connected, dynamic narrative, your brain will effortlessly pull those crucial cross-topic connections during the exam. It becomes automatic. I'm looking at our simulation monitors now, and Pilot Alex and Pilot Sam have successfully mapped this visual story. Their thrusters are stable. They are explicitly showing their analytical working on the page. I can officially confirm a successful full-mark touchdown sequence for both of them. They followed the protocol. And that brings us to the pre-flight question scan checklist. Deconstruct the prompt, identify the exact context, lock in your cross-topic connections, and prepare to show your working.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to challenge your preparation. If a Cambridge examiner looked at your last practice essay right this second, would they just see a generic final answer summarizing a topic? Because if so, you're leaving your grade entirely up to chance. But if they see your critical, evidence-based journey, your precise deconstruction of the prompt, your cross-topic connections, your robust comparative connectives, they have absolutely no choice but to award you those method marks. Master the method, and you master the exam. Mission accomplished, team. Before you power down your consoles, make sure to subscribe to Ace the Exams, enable that notification bell, and drop a comment below sharing your exact subject and tier so we can prep our next flight simulation for you. Keep showing you're working, stay focused on those specific contexts, and I'll see you in the next explainer.